follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the pain. Girl, I never loved one like you. Waterfalls, alleyways, and difficult. I'll be here never with you. We laugh until we think we'll die, barefoot on a summer night. Nothing new is sweeter than with you. Out in the streets, water free, like it's only you and me. Jesus, can I say thank you? I follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the night. But I never loved one like you. I'll be here never with you. We laugh until we think we'll die, after on a summer night. Nothing new is
Good morning, good morning. We are live from the Hive. I hope you guys can hear me all right. I don't know if it's got my... Yeah, okay. So it keeps kicking back over to my webcam mic, which is like right next to this monitor that has the speakers on it. And that's why a lot of my videos have been going back and doing my editing, and they got this reverb quality because it's so close. The microphone is so close to the speaker. But yeah, anyway, hello, my beauties and bees. Looks like we have a pretty full house this morning. Good morning, everybody. Look at the trees, native atheist. My critical cupcake is here. It's been a minute since you dropped by live from the Hive for a morning visit. I know it's not morning there; it's quite late, and it's in the afternoon for you. But yeah, we got Greg, we got Ring. Logan's here. Maya. Good morning, everybody. We are live from the Hive, and I'm thrilled to see everybody here. It's kind of gloomy today, so I had a little bit of a issue getting out of bed this morning. I'm sure we've all been there. Oh yeah. But here I am, and we're gonna have fun. We got a full menu today. Now I thought my stream yard stuff was going to reset on the 1st of November. Apparently not. So I only have about 4 hours left on my StreamYard before it needs to be renewed or what have you. But I mean, that's okay, because I don't imagine this going longer than 4 hours. Oh yeah, good morning, Ring. And did I skip right over Ring? I'm sorry. And the Freak too. Good morning, guys. Good morning. The Freak was with me last night. Yeah, I was in Praise's stream last night. It was fun. Yeah, so I went in there and just basically talked about my beliefs and stuff, and got people all fired up. But they were, for the most part, pretty friendly and cordial with me. I was in there for, I don't know, an hour or two. And I mean, I did push back, and we did spar about different ideas, especially salvation and things like that, which you guys know I don't believe in. And there was a lineage of questions about love, which I think I disappointed the group. But let me know if you guys, I can mirror that section where I went in there and premiered over here, like on in one of the days in the upcoming week, just to so y'all can see what I'm out there doing in the counter apologetics world too, because I know I don't do a lot of active engagement on my channel specifically. I don't have a lot of people come on. I don't have I've never hosted somebody that I disagree with, and that's not by design. That's just well, I mean, it's by design of this show, because this show, Life in the Hive, is not about debating. Plus, I'd have a lot of friends who pretty much a dumpster fire. Yeah, there was that Numi guy in there who kept who kept uh, getting really bent out of shape about the apologetics, but uh, apparently he really liked me. So they were all pretty nice to me for the most part. They were more busy arguing with each other, like Calvinist and uh, all that Pelagian, all these different ideologies that they were espousing, and I almost got set on the sideline and just did an observation of their engagements with one another. But yeah, I will. Yeah, we really should schedule our part 2 about Starship Troopers. I agree. I'm sorry that it keeps getting put off. Things have been rough for me, Ring. So I appreciate you hanging in there with me. So yeah, I went over there and did that. It was a good time. I don't, like I said, I let you guys see that side as much as I'd like to. I do engage in counter apologetics. I have lots of friends with their own debate and platform channels and things like that, where they do discussion panels, where they have those discussions. And I'm not here to step on those people's toes. I have a lot of friends who do it, who would be happy to host me engaging with a multitude of apologists, and they do. I mean, I Gurr, Math Pig, Skylar Fiction's channel. Who else? We have on Cider and Port, Steven's channel there. You don't have to go to modern day debate to have these types of discussions or just witness these types of discussions. And actually on an open panel platform where multiple people can engage on a topic, as long as it's well moderated, I think it's much more sufficient method to relate our different ideas and different beliefs and stuff across the spectrum, rather than going one-on-one. Just because one-on-one is just a dichotomy, it's two different ideas, whereas a group spreads thought and speculation. They discovered a new species of bee in Australia. They said it has a dog-like snout. Oh, that sounds adorable. Let's do it. Pig's Blood is a great song by Otep. I hear ya. Did Nitty ever wake up, or is he still in that chair? Oh, Nitty fell asleep in his chair. Goodness gracious, hope he doesn't hurt his neck. All right. So one of the things that did come up, and I'm going to use this as a rolling into this. We're not going right into Cryptic Corner today because I got a pretty extensive little housekeeping point here. Do bees have snouts? They can sort of. That's just the way their mandibles extend is going to be different for different clades of ants, depending on how they forage, what they're doing with their mandibles, what their individuals even within a colony of the same species are going to have variations depending on what their caste is. In other words, what classification they fall into and what jobs they do for the society. Oh goodness. Okay. So actually, yeah, insects in general, but ants and bees, hymenopterans specifically, who live in these eusocial colonies, their main form of communication with each other is chemoreceptors, which could be considered a form of smelling. Because if you notice it, ants' antenna, they are a lot like a snake's tongue, I guess you'd say. There's two of them, and they wiggle around and explore the environment. And that's smelling the same way the snake's doing with its tongue, picking up the chemicals in the environment. They got two, just like the snake. It does, a bilateral system: go left, go right, go forward. So they're navigating their whole world. Most of their life is, I mean, they have the big eyes, the big compound eyes, but that's a secondary perception. That's that's like the combination of our hearing and seeing. So they will do their chemoreception is more akin to our hearing than anything, because the stereo, because we hear in stereo, they chemorecept in stereo, but that's their smelling the environment. Yeah, and that's why it's easy to corral ants with something like a dish soap, because they won't cross it, because they'll smell it and they won't go near it. They don't want to go near it, so you can like make a circle around an ant hill, and they'll just perish because none of them can cross that line. It's unfortunate. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say none of them. There's a few members of the swarm that can fly, of the ant colony, that's going to be able to escape by way of wings if they choose to do so. But they're colony animals too. So would they abandon their colony to escape individually? I highly doubt it. That's just not in the cards. So again, like I was saying, I'm not going to dive right into Cryptic Corner, because I have some housekeeping to go over, and this might get me canceled, but that's okay. I don't want to get canceled, but if it happens, okay. So, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm copying anybody else, because I've been in a long discussion with other people about this and doing this coming out video. So I have spent much time calling myself an atheist. Now, I mostly call myself an atheist for convenience. And I don't like the term like whack theist or what is the other one? Igtheist. I don't like those terms. I think they're derogatory sounding. But so I've called myself an atheist, and I've always explained it that way. That okay, so I don't believe in any gods that I've been presented with, that's been put on the table in front of me, and I've studied them and understood what they are, and what the claim about them is, and I don't believe that they exist. That has been my position, and I've considered that an atheist position. I don't believe in any gods that I have been presented with. I don't believe in any gods that I've been presented with. And other people say, well, no, Bree, you're agnostic, because to be an atheist, you have to say, I believe that no gods exist. I don't think there's any gods out there whatsoever. So that's the debate. That's the what do you call that? The McRae debate. And I don't have any personal issues with Steve McRae. I've never had any beef with him. He's invited me on his show a couple times. I haven't picked up the offer, because at the time that he was inviting me, there was a lot of controversy going on. So it was too controversial for me to get involved, especially it's how small my channel was. My channel's still small now. So, but anyway, I don't have any problem with that. I'm not getting into the definition of atheism debate, because neither one of those definitions matter to me anymore. Because neither one of them are true about Bree. And I will elaborate, because I think it's important. And no, I'm not a theist. So please don't think, oh, Bree's coming out as a theist now. I am not, and I know I had no plans to do this specifically this days after Knock, the Raging Atheist, no longer the Raging Atheist, Rage to Reason. And if somebody wants to drop Rage to Reason's channel in the side chat, me and Rage are friends, so I would love for one of my mods to get him some. Oh, no worries, Sandy. I'd love for some of my mods to get his new channel. If you guys like my stuff, and you do like the counter apologetic stuff, Rage to Reason will be doing that stuff now as well on this new channel. So yeah, if someone wants to drop the link down there, he just got started. He had, last time I looked, he had 23 followers on his new channel. So let's show him some love. He is a friend of the Hive. We've had thank you, Maya. No, Rage did not quit. Rage is just taking Rage has discovered nuance. That's what we're going to say. Rage has discovered nuance of his position and has shifted, but we'll let him explain that. We'll let Rage explain that development, because today we're here to talk about Bree. But I am me and the irony of me and Rage going through this same stuff at the same time is kind of cool, because we can kind of explore it together. And I'm ready to go over to Rage to Reason if you'll have me on, and we can both talk about our deconversion. No, we didn't deconvert from atheism, just taking a more nuanced position. Now, let me explain my position, because now you guys are like, okay, so you said, Bree, you said that that you called yourself an atheist because you did not believe in any gods that you have been presented with. Right. And you said that, Bree, you said that you don't take a hard atheist position. You would be a soft atheist or an agnostic, because real atheists believe a God does not exist. And now there's been times in my development that I was a hard atheist and did take that position till I started studying into the philosophies and things like that, and take a position that's like, you can't say the farther back you go, the less you can say. So going back as far as is absolutely possible, you definitely can't say. So no, you can't consider yourself a hard atheist. That's my position, and I am I'm okay with that. Whatever. I'm not in that position anymore. I don't reject all the gods that I've been proposed with. I don't. I have, for a long time, I did everything. All these gods that I've been presented with, laid on the table, and I looked at them and examined them, tried to falsify them. You can't falsify them, but saw how much falsification, the minutia of the existence of these gods would bear. And yes, I'm drinking Dunkin' because I'm still out of milk. Oh, I need to go shopping. So let's continue on. So now you guys are like, hey, wait a second. I don't know if you guys are like this, but what God have you been presented with that you don't reject? What God have you been presented with that you say, hey, this one might actually exist? So I'm there. I am going to get there, and I'm going to explain to you guys. No, because he's not changing. Just to clarify, no, he's not changing the Raging Atheist to Rage to Reason. He is creating a new channel called Rage to Reason. He said that the Raging Atheist channel is going to be an archive channel to showcase old interactions he had as the Raging Atheist. Yeah, there's the new link. Okay, so don't, and that's not, and I am not making a new channel because nothing's changing for me. The foundations of my channel aren't atheism, and for most people, I'm still going to be an atheist. Once you all hear what I have to say, you're like, well, Bree's still an atheist, and I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. I never even put that title on myself. Other people would put it on me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I accept that title. Sorry, my stuff's getting it's storming here, like pretty good. The wind's ripping and leaves are blowing, and it's spitting rain. It's pretty nasty out. So, and I'm pontificating and mulling over how to present my position. So, bear with me. I'm going to see what I can do to break this down. I'm just trying to decide which place to start. I have been, for the last couple of years, dabbling in a field of research called Gaian science. No, I know you guys are going to hear this and say, okay, Bree said Gaian. She's talking about believing in a God. You go think that I'm falling down the woo, the Gaia channel, like the spirit science kind of stuff. No. So just to be clear on this, I have not. I'm not. This is not a new age development for me. I've done my new age days back in my teens, and I'm not returning to that. I don't believe in crystals and astrology and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that that's real. I also don't believe in the supernatural in any capacity, and no supernatural things that have been presented to me, phenomena, I guess I would say, no supernatural phenomena that's been presented to me has any validity at all. My God, my God, I'm not going to call her a God. My goddess is organic. She's biological. And depending on what you want to consider part of her, we may be part of her as well. I'm talking about Gaia and what we call the Gaia hypothesis, Gaia science. It's basically, there was one of these articles had a really good breakdown of what exactly Gaia science is all about. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to pull this up so you don't think I'm trying to present this as my own thoughts, because this is not something that I have said. Let's see here. Okay. So we're talking about the Gaia hypothesis as presented by James Lovelock. Okay, James Lovelock, big idea, the Gaia Oxford Dictionary defines. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. The global ecosystem understood to function in a manner of a vast self-regulating organism in the context of which all living things collectively define and maintain the conditions conducive to life on Earth. So that is the Gaia hypothesis, the Gaia theory. And that is what I am a proponent of. I think that the superorganism that is the organic or just the organisms that make up the surface of the Earth, all combined, even into the atmosphere and deep into the maybe into the, well, definitely into the depths of the crust of the Earth. So all of this is a conglomerate, what we call a composite organism, like a lichen. Lichens like what you see growing on rocks, the green and blues and all that. That's not one organism. That's a composite organism of different fungus and algae. There's plants and fungus and microbes and all sorts of creatures that live in lichen, and then there's little cities of mites that develop in that lichen. So yeah, the Earth is like that, except for on a massive scale. So you're like, okay, so it's a giant organism. That doesn't make it a god. The thing is, the aspects of the Gaia hypothesis and the science around that does imply that this superorganism does in fact have some regulatory control over certain aspects of its environment. In other words, it has elemental control. And we've shown that through the mycorrhizal network, through mycelia and roots of plants, that there is information being passed in the form of a language that we haven't interpreted yet. But we can pick out some bits and pieces of it. And we do know that that they'll send certain nutrients to certain areas to cause an effect environmentally, to say maybe even cause dieback to clear an area so that more grasses can grow in a region to stimulate a certain population of insects to move to the area that the plants need to the breed in the grass that the plants need to eat the bugs that are eat the ash borers that are born into their, things like that. They send messages to sculpt the environment, change the courses of rivers, and they were doing this long before people came on the scene. As a matter of fact, we have single-handedly we've cut Gaia to pieces. I do feel like, and I say feel like because I don't know that the data is all there on that the primeval world that is before human development, that Gaia may have spanned the entire globe, that there may have been methods of interconnectionist or connectionism between the entire world. But I think that we have pretty much cut just crisscrosses and big blotches of cities that just wipe out Gaia's influence. And I think that we do see the results of that. And we can coexist with Gaia, but for the most part, we really work against her. And human advancement has actually been very detrimental to her. And now that we are moving into a period of time where we can try to, or we can observe the balance that Gaia keeps, natural selection, that we should be able to maintain a balance with Gaia. And that's my goal. And that's my, I don't have a religion. I am not a theist. I do, you could say to some extent that I believe in an afterlife, because I do believe that all the nutrients that make up my body and the energy that make it that runs through my system will dissipate back into Gaia's system and be absorbed by other organisms, and I will continue to exist as part of this great giant super organism that envelops our planet in greenness. And yeah, and I'm okay with that. That sounds freaking glorious to me. Make it easier for me. Don't put me in a metal box. Don't put me in a box at all. I do not want to be kept from returning to the earth. All right, so let me just see if anybody's done with me. Are you guys still with me? I'm sorry if this upsets anybody. Again, nothing's changed really in my belief system other than that, hey, I've studied this notion that the life on Earth is a giant superorganism that has a level of intelligence to regulate and control the elements of its environment on a continental or global scale. I think it checks enough. I think she checks enough boxes to be considered a god or goddess. No, it's not considered a religion, Logan. Not at all. It's there's conferences that they have. There are. This is a serious scientific hypothesis. Let me read just a tidbit on this for you. Let me switch what I'm sharing here. Just a second, and we will. Because I pulled up a whole bunch of, I have like a whole library of stuff like that on this. I was actually, I've been sharing this stuff with secular pagan mom, because she is a Gaianist. She's a Gaianist of the other variety, though, of the spiritual variety, I believe. I don't, well, no, because she's an atheo-pagan. Maybe she's with me on this. I don't know. I've just given her the information to explore for herself. So, calling it a her, that's convention, because Gaia is a feminine form of a name, but calling it her is because that's kind of the default sex, I guess. I don't think I'm muddying the waters. I think it's a feminine, because it's a feminine resource because it's producing and creating. I don't know if you disagree with that. I'd like to. If you think it needs to be masculine, I don't see a reason for that either. And I also am personifying it. I'm actively personifying it because I'm an activist and putting a face to what you're trying to protect, giving it a name and an identity, helps me to present it. Yeah, there is a mind attached to it. We've detected. So, mycelia is, they are not just like neurons of the brain, but they are neurons. They are neurons sending out signals and messages throughout the system. Mycelia runs through the soils under pretty much all things. Even in the desert, deep under the sand, there are species of mycelia that are branching out. So, and they act as neurons and send signals throughout the whole system. So mycelia acts as the brain. So um, and they do send messages based on signals that they're getting from the environment. Again, it acts much like a brain to send to say send red blood cells to destroy this virus and things like that. Like I was explaining about the clearing a section of the forest in order to allow grasses to grow there, like a meadow, for ecological balance. Things like that are, I mean, we can see that the forest itself, for instance, is in that situation is actually uh, assessing the situation and its needs for the system to flourish and making adjustments to the environment, which is within the system, because all of Earth is going to be within that system to make that determination. Yeah, mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of mycelia. Mycelia is actually the fungus, and people don't think about that. Like what you see popping up out of the dirt when you think of mushrooms and fungus, um, that's just the fruit. The whole organism pretty much lives under the ground, and it branches all throughout the environment. And it does. We've tracked those. I wish I had that document. I didn't even pull up that document. I didn't know I was going to get into that, but I do like the pushback, Logan. So I'm not like annoyed or anything with you. I really do like the pushback. I would love to get more in depth into it at some point. I did not pull up that information showing there's been a lot of studies on the fungus and the mycelia. We really are at a point where we're determining that it is a conscious organism. So anyway, the evolution of Gaian science. In June of 1988, I attended the first Chapman Conference on the Gaia hypothesis held in San Diego, California. There I was introduced to James Lovelock. James Lovelock turned 100 years old. He was the proponent of this, the original proponent of this. He just turned 100 years old. I think it was this year. So he's been around for a while. There I was introduced to James Lovelock and a host of other influential scientists studying Gaia, including Lynn Margulis, Stephen Snyder, Tyler Volk, and Lee Kump. My work proposing an ecological mechanism for global cooling caught the attention of Lovelock, who argued at the meeting that Gaia likes it cold. That led to my publication of peatland formation and ice ages in 1991, this was 1980, yes, in 98. So this is from a while ago. Preceding volumes, Scientist on Gaia. In the 90s, I attended the 3 Gaia in Oxford meetings in 1994, 96, and 99, which drew scientists like Stephen Harding, Andrew Watson, Susan Caney, Tim Linton. A whole bunch of name drops is what he's doing here. There are biologists and geoscientists in this list, all of whom made significant contributions to the science of Gaia. These are not, what I'm saying is these are not like woo-woo people. This is a serious field of science and a serious study of science. So this is not woo. And yeah, and I'm following and again the naming convention and referring and personification is just convention. It's not, we're not proposing that this is actually a creature with pronouns and a real name that prefers to be called Gaia. We just picked the name Gaia due to the naming it after the Greek goddess, and therefore the name comes with pronouns. So I am not, again, making a special. Yeah, snowball Earth theories comes up in this stuff too. Absolutely. Where was I? Yeah, all the name drops. This was followed by so this is just the history of him attending the conferences. So I see 4 main paths the colleagues have taken in exploring Gaia theory: theoretical Gaia, philosophical Gaia, empirical Gaia, and applied Gaia. theoretical Gaia is nowadays where all the action is. You can't really be part of the path unless you have a mathematical model of the system you are studying. Tim Litton has championed the model approach to Gaia, and his fine skills as a scientist and communicator are a major reason why this area has flourished in recent years. In the late 90s, I dabbled a bit in using coupled nonlinear models to shed light on Gaia and was left feeling daunted at the task of understanding the Earth through a math equation. No matter how sophisticated the formula, all the physical and chemical models I have ever studied are nearly devoid of life. While scientists like Tim Linton and Richard Betts are making laudable efforts in bringing biological feedback into the model, I despair if the future of Gaia science remains solely entrenched in the realm of modeling. That's any theoretical science, though. I don't know what you'd expect. It's once you discover something, in through scientific research, through modeling, even to be true, that just creates more models. You don't. It doesn't stop. It's like, okay, we built this model and it pans out. Now we're done. No, it keeps going. You have to make more models off of that. Philosophical Gaia has been explored by thinkers such as Stephen Harding. It gives another bunch of names. Aside from the works of Lovelock and Margolis, the writings on the philosophy and indigenous roots of the living earth concept, in my view, have been most influential works on Gaia. And that's more talking about the society personification, I guess, what we think is a human implications. Yeah. Anyway, we got empirical and applied. Yeah, I'm not going to read through all those, but yes, that is what I'm down for. I'm not but not gonna beat the drum too much on that. I'm not trying to stir things up. I mean, I am using this as also as a position when I engage with people moving forward. Uh, I would like to try this out against a precept, see what they can come up with to counter it. Because the Gaia hypothesis and Gaia science in general makes no claims towards the origin of the universe, the origin of life. The Gaia hypothesis hinges completely on life being existing already, so it's not built on. It doesn't have a explanatory power for abiogenesis either. But we can see self-contained ecosystems that are isolated. They're like basically a closed system around thermal vents, and in some areas of caves where we can see how these ecosystems and the way that they interact with each other come into play. So we know, while we don't know what the first composite organisms were, or the first organisms for that matter, we do know how a piece of Gaia forms, and we do know what that environmental factors do drive evolution, and with that, we do know that Gaia controls our environmental factors. So, does Gaia guide evolution? Yes, Gaia guides evolution. That's my position. And I cannot wait to take this out and field test it. I'm ready to engage with atheists and believers alike. And yes, I initially started working on this because I was going to bring it to Randolph's Fortnite panel thing. So yeah, I fell into it pretty hard, and now I mean, I may come up with something that something may pop up, and I may be like, oh, well, that debunks that, because I'm always researching and looking into this stuff. Exactly. The more we know, the less we actually understand, and the more questions, I think. Just like evolution doesn't stop the theist from asking you to explain life's origin. Yeah, origins or bust is what it always comes down to. But I'm thinking that I really do want to try this out on a pre-sub, because I want to, when they say, what do you, what is your fundamental grounding or whatnot, I can respond Gaia, because I'm, and then see where they take it from there. I'm really interested in how that conversation unfolds. But looking really relaxed today. Yeah, I was actually wearing this on praises last night because I was checking to see if it was too sexy to to wear on a live stream, and it, yeah. So what better way to test that than to give a dry run with some Christians? But they were really friendly again, so I'm not gonna beat that drum. So yeah, I'm absolutely welcome to questions about my about my Gaianism, about my conversion to a Gaianist. I am not a traditional Gaianist in any way, shape, or form. I have no supernatural beliefs. Everything is organic and biological in my model, and its only explanatory power is the development of life and environments on Earth throughout history. So that's my preamble. Good grief, 42 minutes. 42 minutes I went into this before we even get into Cryptic Corner today. I am so sorry. This has been a little bit overwhelming. I had a lot. It took a lot to, and I still have like 4 or 5 different articles and stuff that I pulled up here that I was going to read through, but I don't have time. We'll have to revisit this when I have more time on my StreamYards account, I guess. Let's go ahead and move in to Cryptic Corner. So we're going from exploration of life on Earth and study of life on Earth, Spinoza's Gaia. I am feeling pretty happy. So yeah, going from studying life on Earth, we are going to be moving into life on Mars. I want to introduce you guys to Art Alien TV. Mud Fossil University. How you find rocks and stuff. It says, "Hey, these are bones of gods and monsters." Well, I would like to introduce you to the Martian version, which is again Art Alien TV. So, if you are plugged into the Mars rover feed, you might have noticed that there are a lot of boulder-strewn fields on the surface of Mars. But did you know among those boulder-strewn fields are unique anomalies that only the keenest of eyes can witness and discover? So let us start with the most recent video from Art Alien TV.
Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from Art Alien TV. Another quick
hold on.
going on here.
Did I even do? I don't know if y'all could hear it or not. I was making sure I checked that box before I share this. Yeah, I did. Okay. continuing on. Sorry about the break.
For all you space detectives out there. Now today, I'm going to be looking at some ChemCam images from the Curiosity rover that were taken quite recently. These are the round images that were taken by the ChemCam, which is normally taking photographs of close-up things on the ground like rocks and pebbles and strata.
MarsNasa.gov is where he's at right
looks
now.
Up
That's what I know. It's kind of blurry up here, but
right into the background.
NASA.gov.
Sharp here, and we get some really nice, clear, high-quality images which
a little
haven't been
bit. I can't hardly
downsized.
hear him. I don't know.
And
Let me know if it's too loud on your end.
The mass cam images are. Now, what we've got here is a ridge line. Now, some of this is a bit out of focus up here at the top, and the focal area is generally in the middle of these round ChemCam images. So the information around the edges isn't very good at all. It's very blurry, but the stuff in the middle is pretty good. So let me show you that. You can see Mount Sharp in the background there. This is a ridge in front of Mount Sharp, one of these big mounds, like I showed you on the previous image. And you've got all these kind of rocks here in the middle, which are kind of falling down this ridge line. Some of them are quite small. There's some quite large rocks here. It's kind of like almost like a cliff edge, really.
I turned my camera off because I
sneezed and weird stuff. And then I spotted this thing here. And I thought, just here, let's get it in the middle. I thought, that's weird. This looks like a head with an arm and something like a gun or something there, and a body. Very strange. I thought, why would something like that be on a ridgeline like this? Now, of course, a lot of you may know already, I've found many statues and specimens in this area, about 200 altogether, possibly more now. So you've got to keep an open mind when it comes to these things.
Many statues on Mars that we've already discovered, guys. Oh, hold on, the freak. What are you saying here? Speaking of biology and Gaia, you know, the only one that has provided evidence for God to non-believers that isn't traditionally dismissed for no reason, like archaeology. Well, congratulations to Freak. I think I had heard about that. Yes, that's going to be the name of the game today, Native Atheists. So buckle in. You don't get there's no get out of jail free card. Yep, alien art.
Things, and bearing in mind that you have finds also like one here found by Lanyi Gabor. This was a little mummified person with pins in
a mummified person. This is the raw clip, and he does this, the raw clip on the left, and then enhancement on the right. He's going to give us basically, this is a head, an arm, all that kind of stuff.
Its leg here, 1, 2, 3, because see the pins going through the leg. Deformed, broken leg here, arm sticking out, very strange, long, thin arm, holding something, or a thumb coming out and a finger or something. So I know this is less than a foot long, but it's between about some 9 and 12 inches.
So, and that's another recurring theme that we'll expect to see moving forward is that I lost my train of thought. Anyway.
So when you have the things like this on the surface, mummified.
Oh yeah, that they're all tiny. That he's taking little tiny things. Gee, should we roll Mars in the asteroid belt to make it bigger, more like Earth? Like rolling a little snowball? Yeah, I think it'd be more like rolling a cheese ball in walnuts, right? Actually, that'd be a fun party theme if you had like a space themed party, is to make different planets rolled in. Yeah. Anyway, what a weird direction for me to take the conversation. I am so sorry. Yeah, it's because it's only 12 inches long.
People which have been petrified and mummified, then you've got to be open-minded about what other things you may find, because that basically means that this area was inhabited, as Mars was. I can't tell you whether it is now, but there's lots of petrified and interesting mummified remains like this here.
Mummified remains. I do find this image interesting. I don't think it's a person, but it's very, I'd be very interested to know how this formation was created, because it looks like with the porosity of it, that and they had water flowing over it, which would be really interesting because, you know, Mars.
This was found by Terry Burnett. And Terry Burnett, sorry, I was going to pronounce it right. Amazing mummified people on the surface.
Mummified people.
I've found some, lots of other people are finding them as well, as I've just shown. So you've got to keep an open mind when it comes to these things. And let me show you the stages I went through to enhance this thing. Let's go.
Actually, Frank, I think we're probably, sounds like you said botanically, if you extend that to fungus, then yeah, you're basically presenting my hypothesis as well. Not my hypothesis, not my Lovelock's hypothesis that's built into Gaia science, which again is not to be confused with Gaia, the woo-woo channel. Probably water through sand that hardened chemically and then dry. So I would really, did we get samples of these formations? Brian, I don't know if you know or not. Did we get samples of these formations that had been, like you said, created with moisture and water? Yeah, I would love to delve into that. The Princess on Mars, like, yeah, John Carter.
Go to this one first, because here it is. There's a close-up of it. Now, all I've done here is enlarge it. I haven't enhanced this in any way at all. It's completely raw.
Right. You can see, and this gives you a perfect example of what these people are doing here, because there's literally, I mean, there's nothing here, just a mishmash of rocks. Looks like, I'm going to say that they're, from this angle, they are vertically cracked and creviced. I don't know what the proper geology term is for it, but it's not. Anyway, yeah, there's nothing separate from the rocks. This thing he's talking about is part of the rock face. I don't know how he's saying, oh, so did the alien soldier, did it die and fuse to the rocks?
To see, well, there's a head here, an arm with a finger sticking out there, and what looks like a kind of weapon there. And you've got a torso coming down here and possibly two legs or something. This doesn't quite make sense to me. Now, this doesn't look like a mummified person to me at all, because the details are rather stylized and weird. Now, let me show you the enhancements I've got.
Now,
I'll show you a close-up of
when
it.
he means enhancement, what he means, you know, I'm going to do it. What he means is that he colors these in that basically it's like coloring his pareidolia. You know, give me a second and I will show you a little bit more detail in just a second, but
there you are.
We're gonna let him go on for a moment.
Now what I've done here is I've highlighted around it, selected around it, and then colorized it to make this part of it stand out against the grey background. Okay, just have a look at that for a minute. Look at these details. Finger, hand, small thin arm, shoulder here, helmet, eyes, nose, mouth. What seems to be some kind of object like a staff or a weapon of some sort. I don't really know what that is. To me, it looks a bit like a rifle. And then you have details in here.
Yeah, like a rifle. So, this is kind of what he's doing here. Let me flip around what I'm sharing with you guys so you can kind of see what I mean when I say he's just painting in his pareidolia. So you can, because you can do this you can do this yourself. Look, I did it right here in my Inkscape. You just gotta listen to what he said different parts were and colored them in. And it's just like one of my coworkers does these rock painting parties, right? She brings in this big box of rocks, right? And we paint them as different stuff. Some of them are just round rocks. You paint them, whatever on it, paint a ladybug or what have you. But sometimes you'll get ones that are shaped uniquely. Sometimes they'll be shaped like a heart or a butterfly or an arrowhead or any number of things. The continent of South America, I've seen someone paint that up, that because they find a rock that's shaped like South America and paint the Amazon River and the Andes Mountains and the deserts and jungles and things like that on it. Ooh, cool, right? So but that does not mean that rock was a sculpture of South America. It does not mean that rock was a heart or a butterfly or even a ladybug just because you paint it that way, because you can color in sections of a rock wall to make a figure awkwardly holding a rifle does not mean that it's actually a figure awkwardly holding a rifle. You post your argument here. It can't be disproved. Improv has additional parts of little evidence, like your funky theory, data to add to the pile. Eventually the pile can't be ignored. Yeah, don't put it in the chat though. Put it in the comment section down below. That way it's permanent and saved. I can even pin it for you if you want to. Anyway, so this is what our boy is doing here. Coloring in sections of the rock. So back to the show.
Here as well. Now there is a close-up of just re-enhanced. I think it's this one here. This is the latest one. It's a bit brighter. I've gone in a bit closer. Obviously enlarged it. But you can see these things in there, and there's some intricate details here, like a belt or some kind of ammo belt or something around the center of the torso.
I couldn't even find the belt to do in my little
whether
art
these
piece,
are legs
so
down
no
here,
no belts on my
they
dude.
are, but it's very odd. It's almost like the legs are kind of fused together. It's like it's melted or something. It's very strange. I can't really work out exactly what's going on here. And
we are really good at finding patterns and shapes in porous and textured surfaces that we can visually, our minds seek patterns. We are pattern-seeking primates, and I feel like half my show has turned into pareidolia anymore when I do Cryptic Corner. But I digress. These are statues, apparently, on Mars.
Let me show you the raw clip where I got that from first. Now, you can see that, now I've shown you that, you can see what I'm talking about in the raw image. We've got this thing here, comes down to here. Now, I don't think it is actually joined to this bit here, as I just showed you. I think it probably only comes to here. So this looks like a sort of plasma rifle or something like that.
Plasma rifle.
You can see in this raw image.
It looks like a plasma rifle. What does a plasma rifle look like? What are we basing a plasma rifle on? Because it sounds like, that's not something that exists in reality in the world that we live in, unless I've been missed out on some military development and there are actual plasma rifles now. I mean, I guess a flamethrower will be a plasma rifle, but it'd have a big fuel tank with it because it's firing plasma out. But I don't think I think you're basing it on fiction. Like, hey, this is what a plasma rifle looks like in a sci-fi movie. So when you start with that preconception, like where you jumped right into plasma rifle with no reason at all other than, hey, this person's holding something large. It's not even a person. I mean, it's they're not even holding anything. But when you draw color in this figure, that this portion of the rock makes it look like your figure is holding this. But no, just jump right into.
If you look really carefully, follow my cursor. We've got the rifle here, we've got the head here at the top, and the arm. Now look at the arm. From the shoulder, we go down the arm, elbow just here, wrist, hand, and finger. And the finger, we go in, is actually attached through this object. It's going into it. See that shadow there? It's going into this trigger mechanism, it seems. Holding this, what seems to be shaped like a rifle. Now, I could be misinterpreting this, but that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
He could be misinterpreting it. What do you guys think? You think he's misinterpreting it?
These details. Now, it does look a bit fuzzy. It's a bit sort of soft focus. So you really need to see the enhancements to actually see it better. And I've got one here where I haven't highlighted the whole thing. This is a real basic highlight I've done here. And you can see that thing there. I've actually sharpened it so you can see the finger.
He just calls it highlighting them, but he's painting sections of the rock. He's not highlighting something that's there. He's creating something by painting it.
Bit more. And it actually goes into this.
I mean, I guess you could say he's highlighting the natural shapes and then adding definition to them by separating them from their surroundings. He's making artificial definition to the existing definition created by light and shadow.
Thing here. Okay. Now, I've done a couple of versions of this because I wasn't quite happy with that. I've done a couple of versions because the finger detail, I think I over sharpened it. In fact, if you look at the raw image, you can see the finger stops just there, right? Where my cursor is, there's the shadow that goes into that mechanism. Very interesting indeed. So I'm not really sure what to make of this. And there seems to
It's rocks, just a bumpy rock face.
be something down below it here, like a leg or something, or a boot or something. Who knows? But that may just be a rock that shaped that. I don't know. This may
it not just maybe, it really is.
actually come right down to here, but I couldn't really work out what was going on there. Let's look at the raw image again.
Yeah, so you got all that texture to work with to try to find
because
something
this is
to
a bit
color
larger.
in.
You can see more around it. Very strange. You can see that finger just there, and the hand and the arm and the shoulder there. And much like that little mummified person with the broken legs that I showed you a minute ago, this is tiny.
I don't see any legs.
Well,
Do you
when I
guys
say
see
tiny,
legs
it's
on
about
this?
about a foot long. Thereabouts. This may be a bit bigger than that. This may be about 1.5 feet, possibly even 2 feet. I couldn't tell you exactly, but it's not that large. But we don't really have a scale reference for this. And when you look at the ridgeline, this is 1 to 2 feet, I would say. It's really hard to say exactly. But like a lot of these things on Mars, they're quite small. There he is. And you can even see that. Once you know it's there, you can see the gun shape there, or staff, or whatever it is. You can see that finger just there, and the hand and the arm. Even in the raw image, I'm not adding these details. I'm only making them brighter for you.
Making them brighter. Yeah, you are, but you are adding detail. So right now, this is a looks like this black and white. So duochromatic, right? So there's two defining colors that are working together to give us definition, shape, and form. And with that, we infer light hitting this at an angle to give it that definition. This, with the light hitting from a different angle, may look very different based on the structure and texture of the rocks. When you come in and you add a third, make it trichromatic, a third color to alter how that definition is perceived, you are creating it. You are creating that separate. You're separating this out through trichromatic coloration to create a third layer of the image that is separate from the rest. And technically, when you add that third color in, you open up a whole spectrum of because it's not just two colors overlap and suddenly you got three colors overlapping to give a whole new layer of definition and form. Yeah.
Show on YouTube, because often when you upload videos to YouTube, they get sort of downgraded a bit and you lose a bit of definition. So you have to add contrast to these images to make them make the shadows kind of pop a bit.
That's exactly right, Sandy. This
out.
is the same situation with seeing a rock formation and being like, hey, that looks like a gorilla's head, or that looks like a wolf howling at the moon, or something like that. It looks like a thumbs up. Doesn't mean that it's actually a giant's hand giving a thumbs up. It means that it's yeah.
So that was it for that, really. I'll put clips of those in again at the end. I've got some smaller kind of enhancements here which may look a bit better, but yeah, there we are. You can see it.
Well, at least that's less
pretty well. But these are not new finds. Well, this one particularly is not.
So at least put it in
like
that is not giving
anyway.
a
but I was reluctant to publish it because I get a lot of stick for pareidolia from people, and I've actually written this little thing.
You are pareidolia. He's going to give a reason why he's not pareidolia here. You guys buckle in.
Here. If there is no pareidolia, then the museums would be empty of artifacts and mummies, etc., as they would never have been spotted by anyone. Perhaps all archaeologists have pareidolia.
That is not so. Archaeologists aren't working on pareidolia, though. They actually find things that are definitively man-made. Like, you want, again, the rock formation with the thumbs up. You're not going to find an archaeologist going after that rock formation saying, hey, that kind of looks like a hand making a thumbs up. That must have been made to look like a hand going thumbs up. Jenna is here and Maya. Hey, girls. Morning, morning. Glad you guys decided to show up. Having a little trouble getting going this morning. It's this rainy weather. I'm glad you guys are here, and Kira's here too. Good morning, peeps. All right, yeah, he's going to go on about how archaeologists use pareidolia to find actual finds on Earth. They do not go out and decide whether a stone that looks like or a mountainside that looks like it has a face, if you look at it from the right angle, is actually a mountain. So they don't, again, like this goes back to like what me and Godless Engineer covered a few weeks back, where we talked about the guy who was saying that this mountain was a giant elephant. No, archaeologists aren't going out there and saying, yeah, that's, it looks like an elephant, it must be.
And also this other thing I came up with there, CSDM, culture shock denial mechanism. These things are shaped like they are and not an illusion, for the most part at least. The pareidolia word is only used against Mars and Moon researchers and never Earth-based archaeologists. A culture.
Wait, no, I use pareidolia. Absolutely. We who have we covered, guys? We've talked about Mud Fossil University. We had that Stellium 777 guy just a couple weeks ago with the giant trees, and again we had the guy who. Another guy who was doing the elephant. Those were all on Earth, and they were all pareidolia.
Shock denial mechanism perpetuated by the corporate media in an attempt to diffuse interest in our near-planetary neighbors that were inhabited. So whilst everyone is accusing each
other, the moon is not a near-planetary neighbor
of the dreaded pareidolia, get your teeth in, I shall just carry on cataloguing all these fascinating Mars specimens, objects, and art pieces, and leave the skeptics behind whilst I break the matrix of BS from the media and scientific establishment who have been bullshitting us for decades about our near planets as well as cultures on Earth.
So yeah, again, they're not targeting just people saying that this about Mars or the moon or Venus or what other heavenly bodies that you feel that had cultures that are being covered up on them, and that you're being accused of pareidolia. Very, very real phenomena that happens here on Earth as well, and we name things after our pareidolia. Like if something looks like a face, we'll call it a face, like the mountain face or whatever. If something looks like a gorilla, we'll call it the gorilla rock, or the thumbs up rock, or the pointing hand, or there's so many different rock formations that have names based on pareidolia. I don't even know where to begin.
Okay. I thought I'd put that in there. I've read that a while ago and haven't really used it, I don't think, in a video. So I thought that was a way of getting across what's going on here for those of you who are not familiar with this channel. So that was that, really. So, I mean, there's loads of these things. I could go on for hours about this. I'll show you a couple of things for those that are new to the channel that may not have seen some of these things. There's this thing here, which looks very much like a mobile phone or something similar, spotted by
a mobile phone, guys.
In 2018, very strange. But this actually may be a piece of art with a
that square does intrigue me though.
On. It does seem to have buttons.
The square section, that black square section, that does definitely intrigue me. Just, I mean, this is obviously he's blown it up and altered it, but in this alleged raw image, that I do find that interesting because. Yeah, it kind of contrasts with the surroundings. But I'm not going to make any kind of outrageous claims about it, or its origins, or what's causing it. Just that it does intrigue me.
1, 2, 3, 4 there. Very strange. And even in the raw image, that is not just a normal rock. Even if it's not a mobile phone, and or a piece of art that's broken, it could be part of a mosaic or something, a mosaic floor or wall that's been painted and broken off or something.
Right. Right angles are common in natural rocks. Yeah. Yeah, because the way that crystals fractalize at 45 and 90 degree angles. There's a whole field of science based on how crystals fractalize, isn't there? Funny how Mr. Culture Shock is only seeing things that would come from Earth. Obviously, aliens would have different body plans, would have different shapes and tech. Yeah, they wouldn't just be 12-inch tall humanoids. That is an efficient physical, and it's not even it's a kind of rare on Earth for the humanoid shape, obviously, because we're humanoid, the only humanoids, us and our closest ancestors. So having a humanoid shape is by no means the best form, and Mars is actually has less gravity, so on a planet with more gravity, I'd expect there to be a trend towards smaller size, but I don't know. There's a lot of factors that come into how life would evolve on Earth. Thank you, Brian. That's exactly what I was talking about. Crystallography. It's a study of how it's not just the way they break, though. I think it's also the way that they reflect light through their different angles and stuff, right? Anyway, it's a mummy bunker. Yeah, there's so many mummies down there. Remember the episode of Futurama where Professor Farnsworth gives Fry a Martian mummy, and it's little bitty like that too, a little 12-inch tall mummy, and he gives him another one later that's teriyaki flavored. I always thought that was. I wonder if I can find that clip.
Like that. Who's to know? There's loads of weird things like this, and as for that thing I showed you earlier, I mean, this is one of the most incredible finds ever by Lanny here. Absolutely incredible. The chain around the torso. The chain. You can in the raw image, you can see a chain going around it here, and it goes under this arm
Chain,
here.
you guys.
There's also what seems to be a
Do you see
person
the chain?
next to it as well. Clips coming up.
I don't see a
No.
chain, but yeah. But he's gonna go through just a slide of this particular find. All right, so before we move on from our King Peribolia, Jesus got lost on his thinking. There are a couple different places with mysterious writing that's supposed to look like moonstones and cliffs in Brazil. Right, he's painting them. Where's that come from? Did I open up a... There we go. All right. So, real quick before we move on, I want to show you guys. He's not just a YouTuber. I mean, this isn't just limited to a YouTube presence. This person is actually, as part Alien TV, they're a whole website full of these things. Look at that. Look at all these rocks and stuff. These recolored to look like faces. This one especially makes it look like Roman ruins. And he says that on this one, it's funny. Let me see. Should I watch it? I'll watch a little bit of it. But he claims that...
Okay. So this was taken years back. In fact, only and here is a basic enhancement. And when I say basic, I mean basic. You can, if they find something they don't want us to see, they can just turn the mission dark. Now, of course, that does depend on the light conditions, of course, on it, just to make it easier to look at. But there's very little enhancement done here at all. The scale, for one, is exactly the same. So if this is a person...
Yeah, here we go.
It's only about a foot tall. Looks mechanical. I couldn't tell you either way. But there are some very interesting details in here. And I took quite a while enhancing this and trying to bring out these details. You've got an arm coming round and what looks like a couple of bags. That's why I think what we're looking at today may be one of these little people with bags. Or sacks or rucksacks, whatever you want to call them.
He literally, and this is the personification part, right?
Kind of looks mechanical. And what looks like a little weapon just there, a hand weapon, okay, with a trigger. So check this video out if you haven't seen it already. It's a little bit dark. In fact, I should have really brightened this up a lot more looking back at it.
So
it does get brighter. So do check that video out because there's some astonishing details in there, and I compare it to Martine's original find and her image, and show that as well. So full credit to her for that, of course. She found that way back, the Mars Man and Woman. Now, incidentally, there's a hell of a lot of similarities between these images, and the scale, for one, is exactly the same.
I don't know if he says it in this.
This is a person.
He literally says that that this is a man and a woman because of the human standards of what we perceive. Like, so this one has a when he colors it in here, it has what he perceives as a strong jaw and larger nose. So he's actually thinking that I guess he's thinking these Martians are like hominids and have the same. Humans have very limited sexual dimorphism. So he thinks that 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 these organisms are going to follow the same dimorphic characteristics that we see in human. That's completely ridiculous. They shouldn't even follow the similar, or based on the ecology of a Martian surface, they wouldn't even follow the same developmental lineage that we would. Yeah, they're not just sexually dimorphic. They have the an extreme version of the sexual dimorphism of humans. Anyway, I did find a clip about the Martian mummy thing, or about the Martian from Futurama. We're going to watch this clip real quick. It's like 23 seconds long. And I'll probably get a copyright strike for showing it. But I love Futurama. I don't care. Let's look at somebody recorded off their TV. I don't care.
He's not causing any trouble. Now, if you don't mind, I'm rather busy. I seem to have mislaid my alien mummy. This sarcophagus should contain the remains of Emperor Nimbala, who ruled Zubin 5 over 29 million years ago. Hey, Professor. Great jerky. My God, this is an outrage. I was going to eat that mummy.
Yeah, Martian mummies. Good stuff. All right, so that just about covers it for Cryptic Corner. If you're watching this on Friday, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out in the Hive. Hope I made it to the into the side chat. The other night I had one that accidentally premiered at midnight it was midnight on Friday. It's Cryptic Corner, but it was okay because I had a lost episode. I had to stick back in there anyway, so it kind of worked out to have that one off cycle, and it fell right into place, ironically, right? So we're up into the episode 70s. I think this might be episode 75, 74, 75 on Cryptic Corner, but we are 75% on our way to 100 episodes of Cryptic Corner, which I think we will celebrate with a full Life in the Hive episode, Cryptic Corner, maybe with some crypto friends too, if we get there, or when we get there. So yes, it's Saturday here too, Saturday morning. Life from the Hive. I do Life from the Hive on Saturday mornings, 9:30 a.m. and do my segments, Cryptic Corner, Creation Watch, and HiveScience News, and then I release those throughout the weeks, the coming weeks in sections, so you don't have to watch the whole show. If you just like Cryptic Corner, if you just like Creation Watch, you can just watch the ones that you enjoy. And Cryptic Corner is on Friday nights at 8. And I do premiere it every time. Cryptic Corner is always premiered. Usually, when it comes to these segments, I aim for 20 minutes to an hour, but sometimes they go over. I know when we did Time to Wait last week, we went with Cryptic Corner, we went almost 3 hours just on that topic because there was so much to go over. And I've divided that into different videos for the Cryptic Corner episodes, so that we got like a boost because it's divided into 3 episodes now. But yes, this has been Cryptic Corner, and it will continue to be released on Friday nights. Not to be confused with what I've been releasing on Tuesday, which was my hangout over on Cryptid Conservatory, or Lost Cryptid Conservatory. Just breaking down the conversations I had over there. I spent like 3 or 4 hours. I think it was about 3 hours over there the other night. So there's a lot to go over. That will be, I think it might be the last episode of that on this coming Tuesday. However, there will be more stuff on that Tuesday time slot. That's kind of my variety slot. So that might be where I end up putting my discussion over on Praise This channel. It could be where I go over on Gerstrom like I did with the conversation with Jill. We'll see what happens, but we're going to move right along now into Creation Watch because I have something new for us. I don't think that I've covered In Time Productions before. Maybe I did, though. Regardless if I did cover it, I didn't cover it with what's his name, Tim Alberino, or Timothy Alberino, who we're going to be looking at. All right, so and I did bounce this off the Hive. I went through a few different videos, but I ended up landing on this one because I've been itching to talk about angels for a while now, since I've been doing CryptoCorner and Creation Watch. Either one of those sections would be a great place to talk about angels. Today we're talking about angels in Creation Watch, and we're talking about it with In Time Productions. Timothy Alberino is who we're looking at. This is his channel here. He does collabs with the likes of Bob Lazar and L.A. Marzulli. So he had a video about the Vatican that I couldn't find. It was really annoying me. And I think that it got taken down. They talk about all kinds of wild stuff, transhumanism, Nazi internment camps. And they go deep and hard with UFO and supernatural stuff. But for today, we're going to be seeing what our friend here has to say about angels.
The angels, the sons of God, resemble who we call in ufology the Nordics or the Pleiadians, who are these beings who very much look like us. The misconception is that the fallen angels have a different appearance than the good angels. The bad guys look different than the good guys. The good guys are these beautiful angelic beings, and the fallen angels are these grotesque, demonic-looking entities with horns, and they're the typical Hollywood depictions of demons. But that's ludicrous. That is completely illogical. These entities, these beings, hail from the same race.
Lucifer is an angel, a fallen angel.
My name is Timothy Alberino, and you are watching End Times Productions.
And again, keep in mind that they use that these I don't want to call them ministries, but these different groups pushing these ideas that the media is controlling you with all this stuff. They use a lot of pop media clips from movies and TV shows, the same resources that they claim are attempting to brainwash you.
Earth angel.
Angel.
Yeah, an angel. Made again. I see the angel of death.
So what you saying? You look at some big black angel got sit down here to snatch your hunky ass out there at the last possible minute?
The angel called us God's hands.
So we're like superheroes?
Frailty is such a good movie, though. I'm glad to see that because I haven't thought about that movie in years. If you haven't watched Frailty, watch it. It's a mind trip.
Every time that human beings encounter angelic beings within the biblical narrative, the description of the angels is always the same.
Yeah. So just real quick, frailty is to angelic prophesizing as signs as to alien invasion, just to give it some perspective. So it's kind of that, gives it that kind of weirdness.
They look like men. Indeed, Paul says that it's possible to entertain angels unawares, which means that you can confuse them for human beings. They're not human beings. They are, in fact, an extraterrestrial, non-human race, a pre-existent extraterrestrial, non-human race. But
so we're going to get into some, like, what I call Madsonism, which is this idea that the angels and things are alien entities.
they are also sons of God, just like Adam was a son of God. And so it makes sense, therefore, that all the sons in the family bear the same semblance. They look the same, and they resemble their father. And it is my contention that both mankind and the elder race, the human race and the elder race, bear the image of God. There is no scripture in the Bible anywhere that states that mankind is the exclusive bearer of God's image. Rather, it just says that we were made in the image and likeness of the Elohim. And so we look like them because they are our elder siblings. We are.
So the book of Ezekiel, yeah, but there's different kinds of angels. He is right about, at least in the New Testament and in Lot's story. I think we're going to get into that here in a second, Ring. But yeah, no, I was saying that it's funny that Ring, because me and Ring, I said something in another video about biblically accurate angels looking all wild and weird, and Ring was like, no, if you look at the story of Lot, and you'll note that the angels look very human. So I concur to that. Yeah, the elder race look like white European people. Look like the Ubermesh, blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, fair skinned. Yeah, we're getting into Ubermesh territory. When he says elder race, I can't help but hear Eldar race. And if I know Ring will get that, which is kind of ironic considering the way that they're saying, and we're going to get into that here too, that there's this immortal elder race of humanoids. I mean, because yeah, Eldar. I'll let Ring explain it in the side chat, but yeah, basically elves and human, elves and man, humans, angels and humans in our world are the Nordics.
We are reproductively compatible with them, so we are very similar, even physiologically, although they are of a higher nature. And so then the question is, what do they look like? And I think the answer is apparent within the canonized text of Scripture. They look like us, but with some.
What does higher nature mean? I know, I'm assuming they're supposed to be immortal. Okay, that they're supposed to be immortal, and they're supposed to be fairer, like more beautiful. I guess that would mean like softer skin, softer features, larger eyes, things like that are what we consider beautiful. But that's always the description of the Nordic alien. So
some differences, and we know that there has to be some differences because Lot was able to recognize them when they were approaching the city of Sodom. Lot saw two angels approaching and instantly was able to recognize that these were sons of God, emissaries from the kingdom of heaven. Now, how could he have recognized these angels? Because they looked human enough to where they could pass through town and be taken as exotic human beings, but they had distinctive trademarks, hallmarks, that were calling cards that they were.
What were these calling cards, I wonder? Are we going to explore that? I can't help but think of the Shoggoth and the Elder Things. Yes, the Elder Things and the Shoggoth, Lovecraftian nightmares beyond the mountains of madness. Absolutely, the Elder Things were winged monstrosities. They had kind of like dragonfly wings, and the way they describe them in Beyond the Mountain of Madness is sort of like a giant insectoid creature. But the Shoggoth were something totally different. The Shoggoth were like sentient, well, maybe slime mold is sentient, but sentient slime mold that could be used to build and control the environment. Yeah. Get me talking about Lovecraft, I could go on for days too.
Were not human beings, and that they were indeed angels, that Lot recognized these hallmarks. And it also explains why the men of Sodom were so attracted to these exotic men who had entered the city. And I would imagine that these angels, when they entered Sodom, that they probably had cloaks on. Maybe they were covering their heads and you could only see their faces. But from their faces, from what you could discern on their faces, they probably had blue eyes, fair skin, golden blonde hair, white or golden blonde hair.
The good thing about what he's claiming here is that we can actually confirm what he's saying with the biblical narrative, with the actual text itself. So we can actually pull up. It's Genesis 19. Okay, so let's look and see what Genesis 19 says. All right. So the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth and said, "My lords, please turn aside on your my lords, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the town square." But he pressed them strongly, so they turned aside to him, and entering his house, he made them a feast and baked them unleavened bread, and they ate. Okay, so a couple of cultural things here. The washing the feet thing is this weird Middle Eastern custom. Jesus was like really into it too. It was like the ultimate form of humbling yourself before somebody. So he was worshipful of these guys, sure, and they ate. I think it's super interesting thing about this is that they ate food. So do angels require sustenance? If so, where do they harvest that from? Where do they attain their sustenance from? And if they're like us, if they can breed with us, they must have genomes and DNA. I'd like to see an angel genome. Let's move on though. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, and Matt Powell took young here to mean children, but I think it just means that elderly and youthful people. All the people to the last man surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them." So they want to have an orgy with these sexy angels, I guess. And Lot's not having them. He wants to keep those angels to himself. Okay. Then they called out to Lot. Oh yeah, we were there. Lot went out to the men at the entrance, shut the door after him. So he stepped out and locked the door or closed the door behind him and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have two daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you and do to them as you please." This is pretty gross, right? Hey, here's my daughters instead. Want to molest them instead of these sexy angel guys that I'm keeping in my house, because I didn't want you guys to get your hands on them, so I took them in here and I'm washing their feet and feeding them up. I'm romancing them. You all need to back off. You're killing the vibe. Go hang out with my good daughters, right? All right, and only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they said, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." Then they pressed hard against the man Lot and drew near to breaking the door down. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house, and with them and shut the door. So all the people, all the men of Sodom, every one of them fits inside Lot's house. This dude must have a huge mansion. And they struck down with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great. So they wore themselves out groping for the door. So they struck them with blindness. That's is what they did here. Somebody give me what verse it is. Is it 6:9? Where's the verse that talks about the angels being white people with blue eyes? Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, son-in-law, son, daughters, or anyone who have in the city? Bring them out of the place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and said to his son-in-law, his son, is it supposed to be son-in-laws, who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his son-in-law to be jesting. As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in punishment of the city." But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him. And they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my Lord, behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the hills, lest disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved." He said to them, "Behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive therefore. Therefore, the name of the city is called Zor." Okay, so that's where we are right now. We read through Genesis 19. Timothy said that there was implications that these were white folk with blue eyes. I didn't read that in there at all. So I am doubting you, Timothy.
And oftentimes I get accused of being racist when I describe angels in this way. But what people don't realize is that this is actually the ancient Hebrew conceptualization of what the sons of God look like. When you read the book of Enoch, at the very end of the book of Enoch, there is a fragment inserted into the...
Talking about the book of Enoch, which is extra biblical to most Christian faiths, but there are a few who still include it with their Bible. And it contains little details and snippets of history that were left out of other biblical stories. What he's about to describe here is actually
the story from the book of Noah. Now, whether or not the book of Enoch and the book of Noah are true accounts, they are ancient Hebrew accounts. They are part of the Hebrew cosmology. In other words, they are representative of the way that the Hebrews thought and conceptualized the world. And so in these fragments from the book of Noah, again, found at the end of the book of Enoch, we have this strange story, this account that is being presumably recorded by Enoch, in which Lamech, the father of Noah, is distressed because his wife has just given birth to Noah. And when Noah came out of the womb, he had fair skin. So according to these fragments from the book of Noah, Lamech's wife was pregnant. And when she gave birth to her son, Noah.
And yes, we are going to read this one next. So we are going to read Enoch. So for people who like it when I read Enoch, this is, I think, the second time that I'm doing this. And we're going to read this whole passage.
Lamech was extremely distressed when he saw this baby. Why? Because the baby resembled a son of God, one of the sons of God. And remember, Lamech, when Noah's born, Lamech is familiar with the sons of God, the watchers who created all this havoc, right? So he sees Noah come through the birth canal and pop out, and he looks like one of the sons of God. And so obviously Lamech is concerned because here he has a son that's coming. How can I say this? I almost feel like just reading it. This is what it says. And it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the...
Oh, okay. He's going to read it, but I'm going to read it myself. I'm going to read it with you guys because there's the whole reason I wanted to do this was so I could have an excuse to read some Enoch, some passages that I enjoy that create a little bit more depth to the biblical narrative. All right, are you ready, guys? This is Enoch 106. I'm reading this directly from the Center for Online Judaic Studies. Enoch 1, fragment of the book of Noah. And after some days, my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son. And his body was white as snow and red as a rose. The hair on his head was white as wool, and his dimidia beautiful. And as for his eyes, when he opened them, the whole house glowed like the sun. Rather, the whole house glowed even more exceedingly. And when he arose from the hands of the midwife, he opened his mouth and spoke to the Lord with righteousness. And his father, Lamech, was afraid. Or Lamech, sorry, I keep saying his name wrong. Lamech was afraid of him and fled and went to Methuselah, his father. So Noah not only was white with wild eyes, he could also talk. So a lot of people read this fragment of the book of Noah as a implication that Noah was born albino, which is an interesting case of that being a reason for that to take hold in our genetics, I suppose, is that it was passed down directly from Noah, who wasn't actually an albino, because it does describe him with features that we would know, that we would know as albino traits today. The pink and red, or pink, red as a rose. That can be a what's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna call it a side effect. Anyway, it can be associated with albinism as well as being white, and the head of hair is white as wool. Yeah, everything about this. The eyes, because albino folks that can have really pale eyes, sometimes even pink eyes, really light blue eyes. There's different factors that can come into play, but because there's different degrees of albinism too, and the way that it affects your genes, and we can go deeply into that if you want to. I love studying albinism, but let's see here. Where was I? Okay, he went to Methuselah, his father. Okay. And he said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like any ordinary human being, but he looks like the children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he is not like us. His eyes are like the rays of the sun, and his face is glorious. It does not seem to me that he is of me, but of angels. I fear that a wondrous phenomenon may take place upon the earth in his days. So I am beseeching you now, begging you in order that you may go to his grandfather, which is Enoch, to our father, and learn from him the truth of his dwelling place is among the angels. Yeah, so it's talking about Enoch being like, because if you're reading the Enoch, he makes angel buddies, and the Watchers is what they call them, but Enoch's a wild ride. Anyway, so when Methuselah heard the words of his son, he came to us at the end of the earth, for he had heard that I was there. He cried aloud. I heard his voice and came to him. And I said to him, behold, my son, here I am. Why have you come here? And this is Enoch talking. Enoch talking to Methuselah. And I said to him, behold, my son, I am here. Why have you come here? Then he answered me and said, on account of a great distress have I come to you. On account of a grievous vision, I have come near here. Now, my father, hear me, For unto my son Lamech a son has been born, one whose image and form are not like unto the characteristics of human beings. Then his father Lamech became afraid and fled, and he did not believe that he, the child, was of him, but of the image of the angels of heaven. And behold, I have come to you in order that you may make me known the real truth. Whew. Then Enoch answered, saying to him, Lord, the Lord will surely make new things upon the earth, and I have already seen the matter in a vision and made it known to you. For in the generation of Jared, my father, they transgressed the word of the Lord in the law of heaven. And behold, they commit sin and transgress the commandment. They have united themselves with woman to commit sin together with them, and they have married among them and begotten children by them. There shall be a great destruction upon the earth, and there shall be a deluge and great destruction for 1 year. And this son 30, this son 30 who has been, did we just jump to 30 or no? Okay. The son has been born unto you shall be left upon the earth, and his 3 sons shall be saved, and they who are upon the earth are dead. And upon the earth they shall give birth to giants, not of the spirit, but of the flesh. There shall be a great plague upon the earth, and the earth shall be washed clean from all the corruption. Now make known to your son Lamech that the son who has been born is indeed righteous, and call him Noah, for he shall be the remnant for you, and he and his sons shall be saved from corruption, which shall come upon the earth on account of all sins and oppression that exist, and it be fulfilled upon the earth in his days. After that there shall occur a greater oppression than that which is fulfilled upon earth the first time. For I do know the mysteries of the holy ones, for he is the Lord. He revealed them to me and made me know, and I have read them in the heavenly tablets. The Ethiopic word for long walks is what, when it was describing Noah as a baby, this word, where'd it go? The Dimdima, so means long walks. So Noah was born with long hair, and so that's this Enoch 106. I think our boy is about to read it too again, so you probably have to listen at least part of it again. But we're going to hear his interpretation of it now that we've heard it ourselves, and see if his interpretation matches up with what the text actually says. So here we go.
The angel. Should I just read this? Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is because I think this is an important point. So this is the account from the book of Noah, the fragments of the book of Noah inserted into the book of Enoch. And after some days, my son Methuselah, this is presumably Enoch writing, and after some days, my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him, and bore him a son. And his body was white as snow, and red as the blooming of a rose. And the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool, and his eyes were beautiful, probably meaning that they were distinct from other men's eyes. In other words, they were probably blue or green or something like that.
Or pink. Or silver. Some of the colors that are common among albinos are blue and grays and even pink. Pink is really rare in human eyes, though. When it comes to albinism, it's common in other organisms, but in humans, it's usually a blue.
And when he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very bright. And thereupon he arose in the hands of the midwife, opened his mouth, and conversed with the Lord of righteousness. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled, and came to his father Methuselah. And he said unto him, I have begotten a strange son, diverse from and unlike man, and resembling the sons of God. And his nature is different, and he is not like us, and his eyes are as the rays of the sun, and his countenance is glorious.
Yeah, he's a little albino baby born born in the ancient Near East, among the tawny-skinned folks that lived in the region. He probably did look quite glorious.
And it seems to me that he is not sprung from me, but from the angels. And I fear that in his days a wonder may be brought on the earth. So whether or not this story is true, is literally true, and it may not be, it still gives us insight into how the ancient Hebrews
I do feel bad for Noah being out in the sun building that ark, though, if he was albino. Could you imagine? Yeah, they said he was red as a rose. I bet he was red as a blooming rose after building that ark for all those years. It was a century or decades, right? They spent in the sun building the ark with this poor albino skin baking under the sun, unless they only built the ark at night. Maybe that's why it took so long. Because Noah could only work at night when the sun wasn't there to burn him.
conceptualized the sons of God. How do they conceptualize the sons of God? Fair skin, bright, probably blue or green eyes or clear eyes, white or blonde hair, basically like Scandinavians. And I contend that this angelic race is probably 6.5 to 7 feet tall because of some other indications elsewhere in extra-biblical texts. And
some other indications elsewhere. So yeah, the angelic beings, the offspring of the angelic beings weren't all pretty like Noah, though. It's kind of funny that Noah was apparently a Nephilim too, within the narrative itself, because the offspring of the sons of God, which are the angels, in the wives of man, were the Nephilim. And the Nephilim generally are considered giants and even monsters. But the flood was God's wrath to destroy not just the sinful people, but also these monstrous offsprings of, at least in some of the narratives, in some belief systems, to destroy the offspring of the angels and women. So it's ironic that now we're saying, but Noah was one of these beings. So, yeah.
And so this is why I say that the angels, the sons of God, resemble what we call in ufology, the Nordics or the Pleiadians, who are these beings who very much look like us, but their physiology have these very same descriptive qualities. They are fair skinned, they're tall, 6.5, 7 feet tall. They have blonde or golden blonde hair. They have bright.
Where are you getting the height at for the angels, though? I don't know what verses describe, and you said extra biblical text. What text, which is fine. What extra biblical text are we looking at? I still have the COJS pulled up here, so I got all the extra biblical text at my fingertips. If you mention which ones say that the angels were between 6 and 7 feet tall, I'll go look at it. There is the indication that Goliath, who fought Noah, was a descendant of the Nephilim, or a Nephilim himself, one or the other, which would, potentially, he would have to be a descendant of Noah, though. So wouldn't we all be descendant from Nephilim? Unless they're saying that, hey, some of these Nephilim survived that flood that was a year-long flood, and produced beings like Goliath.
Blue eyes, bright green eyes. This is not a commentary on race or something like that. This is simply referencing the ancient
Really? Because it sounds like you're saying that the whiter you are, the taller you are, the more you resemble the Ubermesh, with your blonde hair and blue eyes, being tall and fair skinned, the more angelic you are. So while you keep saying, oh, I'm not trying to be racist, it does sound very much like you're saying, hey, white people are the most angelic people.
Hebrew conceptualization of the sons of God. The members of the elder race are represented by both the good guys and the bad guys. There's this misconception among Christians that there's good angels and bad angels. There's the good angels who are still loyal to the Father, and then there's the quote-unquote fallen angels. And the term fallen angel is a bit of a contrivance. It's not actually a biblical term. We all understand what's meant by it. The angels that rebelled and are in a state of insurrection. They're reprobates. They have become the enemies of God, the enemies of the king and of the kingdom of heaven. These are the fallen angels. The misconception is that the fallen angels have a different appearance than the good angels. The bad guys look different.
Wouldn't they have a different countenance? Wouldn't God mark them in some way to make it clear that they were not of his allegiance anymore?
Guys, the good guys are these beautiful angelic beings, much like the description here from the fragments of Noah. And the fallen angels are these grotesque, demonic-looking entities with horns, and they're the typical Hollywood depictions of demons. But that's ludicrous. That is completely illogical.
I actually love the Hollywood depiction of demons. I really like. Does anybody here watch Evil? I like the way they depict George in Evil. I think that's my favorite way to depict a demon.
Entities, these beings, hail from the same race. They're the same race. They probably speak the same language. They have the same knowledge. They most likely are operating the same technology, the same technological implements. Why wouldn't they be? They're from the same race. The fallen angels were at one time good angels.
Right. This is, again, I hate to keep bringing this back to Tolkien, but it's like the difference between the what is it, the Talari and the what's Thingol's people called after they split. Thingol was the king of the Talari, and then he stayed behind, and he was he was a dark elf thereafter. But thanks to the light of Melanian, he was able to retain a little piece of valor with him. But they did get physiologically distinct, though. And why would do the angels reproduce? It sounds like they do because they lust after women and such. Do they lie? Do they have a life speed, or do they reproduce ad infinitum? Because eventually the world's going to overflow with angels.
Non-fallen angels, if you will. They were loyal to the king until they were disloyal. So they come from the same culture. And I think that word is very appropriate when we talk about the kingdom of heaven. It is a kingdom. It's not this ethereal spiritual concept. It has locality. It is in every way very much like what we are familiar with as it pertains to civilization and culture and society. It has...
Hey, blessed be he. His fire can create and destroy. You choose. If you do not have his fire inside you, you are fallen. What is his fire? Can you I'm into it. I'm into it. Bring it. Can you elaborate on what his fire is? I will respond if you can elaborate on that.
A court. It has a judicial system. It has a standing army. Angels eat and drink. The Israelites ate the bread of heaven. In Psalms, it says that they ate the grain of heaven, the sustenance of the angels.
So there's farms in heaven too. So you have to do farm labor in heaven? That sucks so bad. How's that heaven? If there's what happens to an angel if it doesn't eat? They can't die, they're immortal, right? Do we have to eat in heaven? Do humans have to eat in heaven? That's to sustain their heavenly body?
So how do you get grain? You harvest wheat. So I think that we are entitled to make these logical extrapolations. If the Israelites are eating the grain of heaven, that means that that grain was processed from some kind of wheat. I think we can go so far as to say some kind of extraterrestrial wheat that was harvested.
Alien wheat. We are here. We've come full circle. We finally have the answer. Angels come from an alien planet. They are aliens, and they have wheat. They farm on the alien planet. Heaven, there are farms on heaven.
On somewhere else in the cosmos. So it's a civilization, and they have all the implements of a civilization. And in fact, their civilization, the civilization of the elder race, is the prototype of ours. It pre-exists ours. Our civilization is a shadow of theirs. In other words...
And where is their civilization? Where is heaven? I'm a bit rusty on the lineage of the Elaterum before they departed to Valinor, though if I recall correctly, the elves of the Mirkwood are descendants from those who never left. Yeah, the Mirkwood. I'm talking about Thingol's kingdom in Beleriand, where it was sunken. Within the girdle of Melian, there was they were counted among the high elves in that region, even though they weren't in. The only one who had actually been to Valinor was King Thingol himself, and Queen Melian was from there. But he came back and stayed in Middle Earth with part of his people. The Beleriand elves had never seen the light of the trees either.
Words, our institutions are based on the institutions that pre-existed us. Angels, the kingdom of heaven has a standing army. And this is apparent all over.
A standing army and farms, and it's like a civilization. Heaven's starting to sound less cool now. When you didn't have to eat and you just had all the pleasures of the world at your fingertips. Again, food is one of my greatest pleasures. So I don't know how. I guess you could eat to your heart's content and never gain weight, or not eat at all if you don't want to in heaven. But it sounds like because there's farming going on, that there's actually industry in heaven, which raises all kinds of wild questions. Growing wheat on Mars, like the Martian. What did he grow on Mars? I can't remember.
The Old Testament and the New Testament. In fact, one of the most common names, titles of the God of Israel is the Lord of Armies, the Lord of Hosts. And that word host it's a militaristic term, the Lord of Armies.
That's not, the host isn't necessarily militaristic. Is there a host is your people? When you talk about these ancient cultures, basically like the tribal societies with an elder leading them, and that the leader would call the people his people, the host of, if his name, like I say, his name was Bree. Let's say his name was David. Yeah, because we're talking about the people of Judea would be the host of David. It wouldn't just be the army. It can mean the army, like if they were going into battle and they saw David approaching with his army, they would say David approaches with his host. But it doesn't necessarily mean that host has to be militaristic. At least not the way I understand it, because the host is also when a group of people migrate. Like the way the Israelites allegedly migrated out of Egypt. That would have been like the host of Moses, right?
Why do armies exist? To protect the borders of a sovereign realm. Armies don't exist without a civilization.
To be continued.
The conversation you heard today, the content of this conversation is detailed in my book, Birthright.
Oh, you don't get to shell on my channel. Sorry. If you are interested, though, his channel's right here. I'm not going to keep that a secret or anything. I mean, if you're interested in what this guy has to say, if you thought this was compelling for some reason, Timothy Alberino, this goes quite down the rabbit hole with things that are debunked. There's L.A. Marzulli. There's our guy L.A. We've talked about him a couple of times. Ooh, the Great Reset. That's too long though. Look how long that is. Look how long that is. I wish it was shorter. There were shorter parts to it. Might be something to cover some evening when I'm bored, though. We'll see. Yeah. So are you converting to extraterrestrial with ancient alienism, Big Bad Mama? civilizations produce soldiers, not the other way around. Soldiers produce, well, horny soldiers do when they get back home to their home front. They tend to come back and create more civilization. Neither, but as commander of the army of Yahweh, I have now come. Joshua, host in the KJV. Okay. And okay, so that was Creation Watch. If you're watching this on Monday, or no, not Monday. Creation Watch is on Wednesday. Watch Wednesday, yeah. So if you're watching this on Wednesday, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And yeah, you like seeing apologetics and biblical text interpreted in non-conventional ways. We do that a lot around here. Young Earth, Flat Earth, Ancient Alien Earth. Anytime that you can take a religious text and flip its genesis on its head to create a fantastic origin stories, you can bet your ass that we're going to cover it here on Creation Watch. So yeah, if you are here on that ticket, thank you for dropping in. Please remember to be kind and take care, and we will see you either Friday for Cryptic Corner or next Wednesday for more Creation Watch, or back here again on Saturday for Live from the Hive. Okay, so I got the Enoch out of my system, which is freaking awesome because that's been eating me alive, having to deal with. But there's another topic that I wanted to talk about before I completely close out for the day. And it involves microplastics. If you don't know what microplastics are, where's the rest of my article at? Dang it. I had this crash earlier and I had to try to find all my articles right before the show started. I know. Don't judge me, please. So, yeah, let's pull this up. We'll use this for right now. Okay, so I was in a discussion, and I'm not like being like calling anybody out or anything like that. I'm not trying to be a jerk about this in any way, shape, or form. But I was on Facebook. I engage with a lot of people on Facebook. Mainly, my main crowd on there is the crowd from when I was working with the Friendly Neighborhood Atheists. I'm still, active and working with them. We just haven't done anything in a while. Ethan's been taking a sabbatical, but I was he had made this post about it was like a out of body experience thing with saying that the liberalism leaving your body when your plastic or when your paper straw starts to get mushy. And I mentioned that you can care about the environment and still not be a liberal, because I don't consider myself a liberal. I consider myself a leftist. Like, oh, you're not a liberal? What are you? Because I guess people assume I'm a liberal because I'm an environmentalist. I don't know, but I don't think liberals have the environmentalism, the best interest of environmentalism at heart, because they're capitalist, and capitalism is antipodal to environmentalism. As long as things are profit driven, then profit will be the main objective, as opposed to sustainability. So immediate profit, especially, who profits off of it first. So I think that capitalism is antipodal to environmentalism. So I'm not a capitalist. Some people, I did mention, some people would call me a socialist. Democrats tend to call me a democratic socialist, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Okay with socialist too, but again, I prefer the term leftist because it better describes the spectrum of my position. Obviously, and invariably, conservatives would call me a communist, but I'm not. I don't consider myself a communist. I don't subscribe to any particular branch of communism anyway. There are some things about communism that I do appreciate, and things that I don't know. But I can say, as a leftist, an environmentalist, and a Gaianist, I do care very much about the organisms and life on this planet and sustaining that. I think that all the organisms should work together to sustain Gaia so that we can keep future generations having this planet to have it. Not a big goal, right? But when it comes to plastics, especially the ones that they make straws out of, polypropylene is what we're dealing with. Of course, other plastics come into play too, polystyrene and things like that. But polypropylene, I hate how that keeps going on my face. But I like this view better, so I'm gonna scooch over a little bit. All right, so and someone had mentioned back that, you know, paper straws do not reduce the carbon footprint. They're not recyclable. They're no better than plastic straws. They hate paper straws, and it's environmental BS. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I'm not going to say who said what or what have you, but I did respond back because I had to, and then some other people responded back too, of course, but I did respond back. And someone had mentioned that that plastic straws were not so much a matter of carbon footprint, but ecological damage, pollution. And the person responded back that, hey, when I see more than 0 cases of a dolphin getting a straw stuck in its blowhole, I will take your argument seriously. So this triggered me to pull up some research that I've done over the years and respond, because this is something I'm passionate about, right? I use reusable straws as often as I can. I did have a nice set of bamboo straws. I don't have them anymore, but I would like to get some more soon. Anyhow, straws aren't the problem in the fact that they're as in the form of straws that they get stuck in something's blowhole. That's not the problem. Problem with disposable one-time use straws is that they're not really recyclable. It's because they're so lightweight that that they can't get down to the machinery properly to recycle them, that they are also often discarded because they are potentially contaminated with food particles, drink particles, things like that, that can gum up the process of recycling plastics. So they're discarded. Even if you put them in the recycle bin, they're thrown out and put into a dumpster, and they make their way into the landfill. And eventually, what we have is, I feel like I should have had this pulled up too. Sorry. Oh yeah, it's not under me. That's why. I hate the way that Facebook switches your account now. It'll give you like an alert for, because I have the HiveScience page. It'll give me an alert for that, and then it'll be like, and I click on it, and it'll flip me completely over, and I'm not on my account even anymore. I'm just trying to find what, because it'd be quicker to pull that link. Okay, here we are. Okay, got my response up. Okay, so the polypropylene plastics, they go through a process called photooxidative degradation, or oxidative degradation. So this is the process, like you see it with sometimes with plastic things and stuff, like plastic flower pots are a good example. They're outside exposed to the elements. You notice that over years they start to get brittle and break down and crumble. And straws will do this too. And the seawater, the salt in the seawater is especially good at breaking down polypropylene, which is the main ingredient they use to make disposable drinking straws, right? I'm sure I've lost everybody in the side chat. We're down to 12 people. That's not too bad though. What's going on out here? Hold on. Hold on. I don't unless Blessed Be is saying something hateful. Let's not delete their comments. But forgotten away. Because I do want both theists and atheists to feel comfortable in the hive and feel like that they can be heard if they want to engage me directly. So I get if they start dropping slurs or hate speech, that kind of stuff. Definitely moderate them. But if they're engaging directly with me, if they have questions for me, just leave it so I can see it. I'm with you though. I trust my mods. So any questions, yeah, you can definitely reach out. But let's get back to the topic because I got to wrap this up here. It's almost noon. I haven't eaten yet. Okay, so where was I? I totally lost my place. Talked about the straws. Okay, so microplastics, that's where we were. So microplastic, what is a microplastic? It is what polypropylene, and again, not just polypropylene. There's polystyrene and several other contaminants that find their way into the ocean that are plastic polymers. And then when the seawater, when the salt specifically acts on them, it causes them to break down through an oxidative process, and they turn into these tiny little particles called microplastics or even nanoplastics. Nanoplastics get inside microbes even. They are so bad for the environment, and they leach a multitude of chemicals that are contained within the plastic process to make plastic harder or softer. They use different chemical compounds to act on the polymer's structure. But when the salt acts on them, it causes that oxidative breakdown. What was the word again? I keep forgetting. I need to beat it into my brain. It is photooxidative degradation. It breaks down the microplastic, and they find their way into basically all sea life. So we see, like, I did a survey in the Pacific near the Galapagos, 77% of carnivorous species, 63% of planktivorous, and 20% of detrivorous organisms had microplastics within their system. Again, they leach out the chemicals that we add to these plastics, these additives that harden or soften the plastics, and it does directly impact the organisms. There are a few specific chemical compounds. I'm trying to look and see. I had them pulled up earlier, but like I said, this all crashed. So I apologize if I don't have the proper names for the compounds that they break down into, but they are detrimental to the development and life cycle of specific organismal groups. And now we are starting to discover that some of this microplastic has settled to the bottom of the seafloors in select regions in orders of magnitude that we did not previously expect to find. So there are literally tons of layers of microplastics on the seafloor now. These polymers get into organisms, causing reproductive, digestive, and respirative degradation to the organisms in their biology. We have here, I think we had, just as an example, and this isn't even barely, these are pretty large. They come down to microscopic levels. Let me just share just an example here. It's kind of a famous image. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it before, but the these down here are all the plastic pulled out of just this one fish. This is a rainbow runner in the North Pacific Gyre, which is a very highly polluted region of the Pacific Ocean. It's a big swirling Great Pacific Garbage Patch is sometimes what it's called. It was ingested 18 pieces of plastic in 2008. It's only gotten worse since then. This is not a problem that is getting better. It's a problem that's getting worse. And the options that we have, that's the real problem. The option we have to remove microplastics from the seas are very limited. We're not going to have a lot of success with our current technologies in curbing this. The only steps that we can take right now to curb this, I shouldn't say the only steps, the most efficient steps we can take right now to curb this is to limit our one-time plastic use. So and there are paper straws that are recyclable. It's just a BS claim that there are no recyclable paper straws. There are recyclable ones, but even the non-recyclable ones are going to break down with less detrimental effect to the environment than plastic straws are. Less long-term effect. The biodegradation of papers is, depending on the environmental factors, can be within just a few months, even to up into centuries. But again, depending on this preservation methods. Whereas plastics, there will be variables, but microplastics don't go anywhere. They generally don't go anywhere. So that's where we are. Anyway, enough environmental ranting from me. This was HiveScience News discussing microplastics and their impacts on the world's oceans and on humans as well, because keep in mind that when we eat those fish, those microplastics enter our body. The degradation of those microplastics release those chemicals into our systems, and we can have biological effects and responses to that. Keep that in mind when you dismiss plastic straws as, I've never seen a straw stuck in a blowhole. It's not about the straw. It's about what it breaks down into. That is all I have for today's show. Please remember to be kind and take care. And I will see you next week.